Hey, it's your co-host Haley and Caitlin popping in with a little motivation to get your week started off right. Happy Monday. Welcome back to the Thriving in Wellness podcast. We're so happy to have you here today. And we're going to be talking about briefly what to do if you are just feeling like something is off in your body.
Yes. So I think we've talked about this before, but our theme for this season is really leaning into trusting your body wherever you are on that journey, whether it's like learning to trust it or moving towards the next step. So today we are definitely in that realm talking about being able to advocate for yourself if you feel like something's off, even though you might be told everything looks normal.
Yeah, and that can be so hard because we talk about probably every single episode about how you can get some pushback from, lots of people in the traditional healthcare space.
Mm-hmm.
And so to, push back a little bit and say, no, I want you to dig a little bit deeper here, or like, I know that something is wrong, that can be really hard, I think, especially for women.
100%. And you and I were actually just talking about this other day, but one of our colleagues had a real blow up this past week because of something like this, something
Yes.
she's experienced, many of her clients experienced, and then an OBGYN came out and said that's total BS, like that's not a real thing because it's not in the literature. And so I think some of the reason why we experience this pushback is because not everything is super well, like is well documented, right? But that doesn't mean that your lived experience is any less true. It doesn't mean you're crazy. It doesn't mean that your symptoms aren't real just because it's not documented. The way that you and I practice is like critical thinking and really having a true evidence-based practice is also considering how the patient's feeling. Like, what are your experiences? What is your lived I keep saying experience, but what is your lived experience with these symptoms, right? We tie that in with the lab results and then the actual literature too. So it's a three-pronged approach.
Yeah, and it can be so hard if you're not like trained in the health and wellness space
Mm-hmm.
to feel confident, like pushing back with your doctor a little bit. And I think that's where like our goal is with this podcast is to give you a little bit more of that like knowledge and understanding about how your body works, and you can connect that with the symptoms that you're feeling,
Mm-hmm.
to then feel a little bit more confident advocating for yourself with your doctor.
Yeah. And I think honestly, for both of us, I know for me, part of the reason I got into this field is because I was looking for answers for myself. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's true for a lot of women, especially in the dietetics or even healthcare field. So it can feel intimidating. And I know going into the doctor's office, even I, someone who knows all the labs, like knows what to ask for myself. Sometimes I even feel intimidated asking for that because of the way that they push back.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think having that information is really important, and having that will and confidence to trust that you know your body, and if something's
Mhm.
off, there probably is something else going on.
Yeah, and that it is okay to find a new provider if you need to. And I feel like my big personal experience with that is like with finding a therapist. And I tell people all the time, like, you're not always going to have a great connection with the first therapist that you start working with. I think I worked with three different therapists kind of as I moved around. I was like, I'm going to try one here. And then this didn't work. And I was like, well, that's that.
Yeah.
And I, kind of moved to the next place, like, after college, moving around. And I was like, man, I'm still kind of struggling a little bit. Maybe I should try finding another therapist. And then I finally found one where I was like, you are amazing. And this is like the exact perfect fit for what I need. And you seem to understand me really well. And that's when I finally made the progress that I needed from a mental health standpoint.
Yeah, and I think more people might view it that way for something like a mental health like a therapist or something, right? But I think the same thing goes for your physical health. Like even for as a dietitian, like I hope that the clients that I'm working with love working with me, but there's been times when I know I'm not the best fit for someone and I'll turn them in another direction before we even start working together. Cause like I know
Mhm.
you'd connect better with someone else, or you'd have someone else to this other person specialized in this, whatever you're dealing with. But I don't think people think that with their doctors. Like I think a majority of people are like, well, this is my doctor. I have to just go with what they say. And they feel like they're in this box and they're almost trapped.
Mhm. Yeah, especially if you've been with a doctor for a while and you haven't had anything significant come up medical wise,
Mhm.
and then maybe something new comes up too, and you're like, now I'm not feeling like I connect with this doctor because sometimes it just feels like you're just like in and out, and if you're not needing a lot, then it's hard to know like how well you're really connecting with somebody. But then when you need something like then you need somebody that's on your side and is going to listen to you.
Yeah, and I think the therapist is another great example of that too, is like you might need different things in different seasons. So maybe that provider served you well when things were pretty straightforward, just getting your annual physical. But now that
Right.
you're maybe dealing with some more either hormone or complex gut issues, maybe you're needing to bring someone else in on your support team or just needing different guidance. And that's
Mm-hmm.
100% okay.
Yeah. And I think one thing that this is like kind of going off in a different arena a little bit, but I think one thing people struggle with sometimes is like they just want one person that can handle all of their healthcare needs, but it nobody can be an expert in everything. And so you oftentimes do need a multidisciplinary, team working with you on your healthcare, especially if you have a lot of different things going on. And so you might have, your doctor and, maybe a mental health provider that's working with you now, but as different things come up, you might need to add on other providers to that team.
Yeah, I think another like a good way to think about that too is you're putting the puzzle pieces together. So that original doctor maybe gave you a few hints at where to go next. You're gathering little pieces of information. As much as I would like to say, like, hey, we do this one lab, we find this one answer, we know exactly what's going on. I know you and I, and most like with most of our clients, like it's doing the detective work and pulling from all these different pieces to really get to the root. And that's why I like to view our health as a puzzle, and different providers, whether it be mental health, physical health, whatever, your own research, that is going to help you build that puzzle quicker.
Yeah. And I love that you're validating people's own research because I feel like that's where doctors will sometimes give like a really big pushback of like, you shouldn't be Googling this stuff. And I know last week we said, try to stay off of Google too much. But like it's just human nature to go and, Google and look into things and try to understand what's going on with your body. And that should be included if you're finding something where you feel like this fits.
Yeah, I think there is a fine line sometimes, and some people are more sensitive to the information they see online, while others are able to kind of filter through that. So that
Yeah.
goes back to knowing yourself and what's going to be the
Mhm.
best fit for you. But even if you go down these hamster wheels of like, oh my gosh, because I had this one lab off, that means like I had someone the other day, they found out like their liver enzymes were elevated and then they were worried they had like liver cancer or something. So that was not the case for them. And they definitely went down a rabbit hole. But I think too, making sure you're working with someone who is going to recognize like, hey, you did your own research. Let's bring it back to like reality here, and let's
Mhm.
use that information now that we have. So kind of tying this all in together, it's really important for you to trust yourself too. I think oftentimes, I think this might be generational too. I see this a lot with like my parents'
Mhm.
generation and everything is just kind of blindly trusting their healthcare team, blindly trusting their doctors. And while I wish that could be the case,
Yeah.
In many cases that you and I see, that's not always the best approach, because
Mhm.
we need to consider your own symptoms, and we need to build that team and look at different places.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, our goal this entire season is to um help you learn how to trust your body, learn, maybe what symptoms might come up, and things that you can pay attention to, and then give you a little bit more of that confidence so that you can advocate for yourself.
Yeah, so of course, we're continuing with these Monday motivation episodes where we're talking maybe more a bit about building that confidence and mindset, but that's going to be balanced out with a lot of great information to help you build that confidence and know how to advocate for yourself and what to look out for with those Thursday episodes.
Yep. So to end today, we'll leave you with a question. What do you think is the next step in your own personal journey that you need to be able to advocate for your health?
Yeah, I love it. Feel free to reach out to us on Instagram, either Dietitian Caitlin or Dietitian Haley, and let us know what you're doing next to advocate for yourself. We'd love to hear it and love hearing your stories.